morning. I'm having some difficulty here. First of all, that sky looks amazing. I'm having a weird vibration in my cards. So anyway, so today, well, I just uploaded a video called Papa Bush, Poppy Bush. I didn't know what else to title it because I kind of jumped around all over the place. But he was the main reason why I even made the video. It just went off into different things. Anyway, I am going to talk about, what did I post? I posted something on Instagram, and it was, I'll put the exact words on there, but I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember what I said. I think hell is the experience, or hell is an experience where there is no love or lack of love, and that is true. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Is there are about hell or the hells and why it's called the hells, and it has to do with the love. And so there's various levels of love or lack of it. So some can have a very degraded soul, meaning they have a great deal of lack. I don't even know if I should even say that. It doesn't make any sense. They have it does not sound right if I say that. They just have a whole lot of pain, a lot of unloving things within their soul, and so that would create, or that would cause them to be in a lower level of hell, a lower level in the first dimension, which is called the hells. And so these different layers or different levels within the dimension, within the first dimension, the lower parts of it, they're going to be experienced differently. And that, this all goes back to Papa Bush, or Poppy Bush. I call him Poppy Bush. I call him Papa Bush. So it's the love within your soul is going to dictate the level that you're going to reside in the first dimension. And for the most part, we are all going to pass within the first dimension because we have a great deal of anger, and that anger is the suppressed pain that we have within us and the fear that we have within us. And so as you start releasing these things, you start increasing your soul condition, and your soul automatically moves up to the condition it's supposed to be based on that. And if you wanted to go lower, you can do that, but it's all based on love. Like, that's it. So the lack of love, because I wish I had the post. I wrote on there, hell is the experience where there is a lack of love, and the universe is manifesting it for you, or manifesting it to you for you. So our soul is what is generating our exterior, our outward experience. So everything that we see is a reflection of our soul. And on earth, it's not quite clear because we have options, or we have the ability to deny that. And because we have that ability to deny it, we don't really see the true condition of who we are. So for instance, if you have a degraded body and you're aging very rapidly, then, like, for the women and even men now are starting to use makeup to conceal that, and understand that these things are to hide, to conceal the truth of your body, of your face. And so that's why you use all these products to try to take away or to hide what is truly a representation of your soul. So if you're truly wrinkled and you're just falling apart, there's a reason for that. But what you do is you engage in this practice that allows you to not see that anymore. And so the same thing with alcohol. If you have a lot of pain and you drink alcohol, well, the alcohol allows you to not see that or even feel that anymore. And so this is what, this is the thing that we have here. But that's going to change when we pass. Like, we're not going to have that ability anymore, and what is, it's just going to be presented to you, and you have the ability to ignore it. I'm not going to say you don't have the ability to ignore it like on your own. You actually have to use other people in order to hide your true soul condition. So, for instance, you will attach, and I just had this conversation with someone last night. You will attach yourself to someone and to get your addictions met. So, if you were a drinker while you were on Earth, you will attach to someone who has a similar emotional injury. You will attach to them, and you will influence them to drink. And they'll think, oh, I need a drink, I want to go out and drink, hey, let me call my friends up and let's go out and drink. And you won't even know it. You just think it's your own thought, and or your own desire, and it's not even your desire. Especially if you recognize that you drink too much and you're still doing it. If you're still doing it, it's because you're being influenced to do it, in addition to covering up your emotional injury. So this is why it's, I keep saying it's so important to know yourself, because then you can know when you're being influenced. Like, I know when I'm being influenced, I'm like, nope, that ain't gonna happen. That is not gonna happen, because I know when it's not my own desire. And after a while, these spirits will just leave if they can't get their addictions met. Just like someone on Earth, they'll leave you alone if you don't play along with their little game. If they can't get what they want, they'll leave. But that doesn't mean that someone else won't come around and try to influence you, because it happens. Like, for a while, you're like, oh, I don't have that desire anymore. Then out of nowhere, you'll have this desire to do something that you haven't had a desire to do for months, maybe even weeks. It could be years. It doesn't matter. But out of nowhere, the desire comes in. At that moment, you automatically know this is not your desire. It's the desire of a spirit that has just attached to you. And so this is how you know. But you have to know yourself in order to know the difference. Like, you have to know how you are on a daily basis, so that if something is different, if there's a varied emotion or a varied desire for something, or a prompt to do something, you understand it's not you. And sometimes these can be good spirits if it's something that's loving and for your benefit. But you have to look at the long term of the action. Like, if you take this action, what is the long term consequence of this? Because something can look good and you can be influenced thinking that it's a great thing, but it's really not. For instance, you can be single and someone will a spirit can motivate you to become or be involved in a relationship just so that they can get the sex that they want to get from you, or the feeling of sex they can get from you from that relationship. So you may think, oh yeah, I'm in a loving relationship, when really all the spirit wants is for you to have sex so they can have the feeling of sex. So it really depends. Like, for instance, I've been going on this date thing, but I really don't want to be in a relationship, and I need to tell that person that. I just I really don't feel like being in one right now, and I really don't. Like, it's not a lot to meet this person and go out and do things, but I would rather do other things. And so if my desire is to do other things, that means that I'm really not into it, and I'm just appeasing the person or just going along with the process, but it's really not a true desire of mine. So I have to really look at that, because when I look at other people, I don't even want to be in a relationship. Like, that's not even a desire of mine. So I really need to look at that. I'm glad I said that. So going back to this thing, in terms of the hells, the thing is, when you end up in the hells, in the lower levels of the first dimension, it's done out of love, and that can be very difficult to wrap your head around. But it is. Like, all the universal laws are made in love, and they are designed to bring you back into harmony with that. But if you're in the pits of hells and you're suffering and it's dark and there's a lot of violence and you feel fear all the time, the point of that feeling is to be so uncomfortable that you would want to change. Like, to feel the uneasiness about that, to feel the unhappiness, because of that experience, to feel the lack of joy. That feeling is supposed to prompt you to want something better than that. That's what that's for. But because a lot of people don't know that there is more, or that you can get yourself out of that situation. But that's the thing, people don't know about the spirit world and how it works, or how their soul works, or how the laws interact with their soul. Like, they don't know these things. So if you are listening to this, you are so privileged to have this information, because even if you don't believe what I'm saying, anything that I'm saying, when you pass and you start experiencing things, you can recall all the things that I talked about, and you would have the information. Even though you don't believe it, you have it. You have it in your little lunch pail, and you're taking it with you, and when you need it, you open it up, and you're like, I remember hearing this, I remember this guy saying this, I remember, and that's the whole point. Like, that's the whole reason why I do my videos. Like, my videos aren't meant to, like, change you. That's up to you. But you will have this information. Just like things that I experienced, from when I was a child, and I didn't know what it meant, but I remember it. I may not have understood what was going on, but I remember experiencing, I remember hearing it. And then as I get older and I start to experience the different things, or certain things are explained, it takes me all the way back when I first heard it when I was a kid. So I know that these videos are going to help people once they pass, even if they don't believe or know that it's going to help them once they pass. So that's why I make these daily videos, and also to help myself. Because just like a moment ago, I said something and I realized that I need to apply that. I need to look at something more clearly than I have been. And I did it just from my own video, like my own words. And so that's powerful, and that's another reason why I make these videos. So it's not just to help other people, it's to help myself. It's to reinforce the things that I know. When people ask me questions, it forces me to recall certain things that I know that I may have pushed aside or forgot about, but they're still there. So anyway, when they pass and they have these experiences, they have this opportunity to change, to get themselves out of that space, and all you have to do is have that desire that I was alluding to just a minute ago. Like, if you're experiencing such pain, such trauma in the spirit world, or even here on earth, all you have to do is have that desire of wanting assistance, wanting help. This is why prayer is so important to people when they reach the end of their rope. Like, they can't go anymore. Like, I know someone who was on drugs really, 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 really bad, badly, and they just broke down and asked and said, please help me. Like, they never prayed, but they prayed that one time. But the desire was so pure, the desire was so strong, that the universe, God, celestial beings, guardians, guides, whoever helped the man, at that moment realized that they were open to receiving help, and they helped them. And from that point forward, they never used drugs again. Ever. That was it. They may have used alcohol, they may smoke cigarettes, but they never used drugs. From that moment, they didn't have to go to drug rehab. This is why I say, you don't have to do all these extra things that are physical. You can if you want to. I'm not saying don't do it or do it or whatever. You do what you need to do for yourself. But, you don't, like, for instance, if I had a drug problem, I know I don't need to go to a drug rehab center. I know I don't need to do that. I know all I need to do is have a desire not to do that, but it has to be a pure desire. So for those of you who have an addiction of any sort, and you say, please, I need to stop smoking, like, that stuff's in your head. And if you don't have a pure desire to stop, and a pure, and you don't, the desire and have the willpower to just, like, kick it and just let it go, it won't go. Like, it just won't. But if you have that desire to kick it, you'll stop automatically. You won't need any help from anyone else, other than the metaphysical aspect that you're getting help from. Like, could be a guide, could be God itself. It could be all kinds of things when you pray. So when you have a desire to God, God will answer that prayer. If you have a pure desire, if you want to change, you can. And so, that's the thing. Like, I have a pure desire for truth, so that's why I'm being presented with all my truth that I'm receiving, whether other people believe it or not, that's irrelevant, but I know I'm receiving it because I've asked for it. And the reason why other people can't receive it is because they're not asking for it. They're asking for a validation of what they believe is true. And this is what happens with Christians. This is what happens with everyone, whether it's New Age Christianity or whatever belief you have. You want to sustain that belief and you want to ask for truth, but within that box. And so you get that with whatever it is that you're asking for within that box. But like I said in the last couple of videos, you will run into a wall because that's not the truth. There isn't any religion or faith that is 100% true. They may have, like I said, fractions of truth, pieces of truth, but it's not the whole truth. And so if you have a piece or a fraction of anything, you're going to run into a wall because you need the whole in order to move forward. But yeah, you know, in terms of this, you know, the hell thing, it is done in love. It's, you know, and when I know people get confused when I say, you know, things like that, you know, oh, you being in the hells is actually a loving thing. But it is a loving thing. It's trying to help you because it's not punishment. It's just trying to get you to want something more, because that's all the creator, the desire of the creator is for you to experience more of the best that you possibly can in any given moment. That is the creator's desire, is for you to have love within your soul so that you can have an amazing experience. And if feeling uncomfortable is the thing that is used, because that is the thing that is used, is feeling uncomfortable so that you can desire something better. That's the whole point. And that's the way the system is set up. So you're going to have to operate within that system. The system that most people want to engage in is they want to just think it away. And you're not going to think it away. You can't think it away. You can't shove it down and ignore it. I mean, you can do it, but that doesn't make it go away. And that's what people want, especially with this, you know, the law of attraction. You know, shoot, if you listen to Abraham, then, you know, you'd be ignoring everything left and right. And you're going to be in trouble. All these people are going to be in trouble. And this is what I'm going to do. At the end of this video, I'm going to attach another video. And it's from the Paget messages. And the Paget, Mr. Paget himself, was channeling different beings. I believe he channeled Jesus at one point, before Jesus even reincarnated. So before AJ became AJ, Jesus was channeling or being channeled. And so Paget was one of the ones, and I think Paget even did a mon and a man, if I'm not mistaken, meaning Adam and Eve. And actually, I'll leave a link. I forget to put these links in there. I'm sorry, because I know a couple of times I said, oh, I'll put a link, and I get so busy and I just totally forget. But I'll try to remember to put a link of the channeling from a man and a mon. And they talk about what happened. They call it the Great Fall. I don't know what we call it. What do we call it now? What do we call the Adam and Eve thing? We don't call it the Great Fall. The disobedience? I can't remember what they call it. And different religions have different sayings for it. But anyway, they call it the Great Fall. And they talked about what happened and what they did. And, you know, after they realized, I mean, they're celestial beings now, but they didn't pass away being celestial beings at all. They were not born, but they were created in the 6th dimension. And once they rejected God's love, they started falling in the dimensions. And that's how the other dimensions, that's how the 5th dimension was created, and the 4th, and the 3rd, and the 2nd, and the 1st, because of, look, your car is already crunchy in the front, because you're not driving right, and you want to try to come in my lane? Oh, Lord. And I want to encourage everyone to laugh. Oh my gosh, just laugh. It is so amazing to laugh. It's good for you to laugh. Stay on your side, boo-boo. The lines are narrow, but still, stay on your side. You just laugh, laugh at different things. And I watched a movie yesterday. I think it was called The Best Marigold Hotel, I think, or The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I think that's the name of it. Oh my, if you saw the movie, then it's amazing. Amazingly funny. And it's a bunch of senior citizens, and they're just talking about, being, elderly, if you will, and, the things, it's just pointing out all the things that they experience. And there was this one scene where this lady had to have a hip replacement, and she said, when is it going to happen? And he said, well, you'll be on the waiting list for at least 6 months. And she said, I can't. She said, 6 months, I can't plan that far ahead. I don't even buy green bananas. Like, that cracked me up. I mean, because you have to wait for green bananas to ripen. And she's like, I don't have that kind of certainty right now. Like, I don't know how long I have. And it was so funny. But the whole movie is hilarious. Because they're just funny, and some of them just have a look. They don't even have to act. So the lady who needed the hip surgery, she doesn't even have to act. Like, she can just sit there. So the look on her face is just oh my gosh. Anyway, back to back to hell, back to the hells of these things. They're in love, and they're designed to bring us back. And I forgot what the last thing was I was talking about. All right, I was talking about what we call things. Oh, a man and a man. Okay, so at the end of this video, I'll put a video of, I think it's Nero. I forget I think he was. Who was he? He was someone who, I can't remember who the man is. I'm bad with history, but I think his name is Nero, and he was someone who ordered the death of Christians, I think, or something like that. So something like that. But he talks about where he ended up when he passed, like when he was in the hells, and how he got help and all this stuff. And this stuff, like, these are people's real experiences. So it's so amazing and cool that we're able to have this information on YouTube, because I was thinking about, who was I thinking about? I was thinking about John the Baptist. Well, all the Johns, and the John the Baptist, and then Apostle John, and all these people who actually were channeling back then. Like, these people were channeling. That's so funny. People read the Bible thinking it's the Word of God, and they were just, spirits communicating with them, and they were putting it down in the Bible, or writing it down as what do they call them? Canons, I think, Gospels. And so it's interesting. Christians, they don't believe in all that stuff, but the very words that they read in the Black Book are the words from spirits who were channeling. And that cracks me up. It just shows how ignorant people are, and how ignorant they want to remain, because they want to believe what they want to believe. Like, if you're a New Age, then you can hear what I'm talking about right now and understand it and believe it and know that is true. But when I start talking about the New Age, the falsehoods in New Age, you don't want to believe it. Well, Christians don't want to believe it about their religion either. So get it together, okay? Just get it together, because I get more hatred. I get more hatred from New Age people than I do Christians. See, Christians don't look for these kinds of videos, so that's why I don't really interact with them very much. But these New Age people, they're always searching for, all kinds of, metaphysical, spiritual things. So they run, I have more interactions with them. But anyway, I'll put that on there. Oh yeah, and I'll also put that link of a man and a man, talking about how it happened, what they did, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting. The thing is, if you have true history, if you have the truth of what really happened, then you can put so many things into perspective. And like, if you read the Aman and a man, like they're channeling, it will put the whole Christianity thing into perspective. It can put a lot of the New Age things into perspective, like where we are right now. And the thing is, once you have that foundation of truth, like I said before, if you have truth, a lot of things are just automatically answered. They're automatically answered. So, like when, like I mentioned the Santa Claus thing, you know, in yesterday's video, you know, kids believe it's Santa Claus, but once they understand that it's not Santa Claus, they know where all the gifts come from. You don't even have to ask where that one thing you know, you got when you were a kid. Oh, yeah, my mom and dad got me that, or my aunt so-and-so got me that. You see what I'm saying? When you have the truth, you don't have to question who, you know, did Santa Claus really bring me that? You just don't have those kinds of questions anymore. You don't. Or if you get flowers from someone and there was no name on it and you never found out who it was, you know, the thing is, once you have truth, it's like, oh, once you find out that someone may have had feelings for you in the past and didn't want to know, but once you find out, you know exactly where those flowers came from. This is what I'm saying. Like, once you have the truth, you don't have to ask the questions, you don't have to wonder, you don't have the uncertainty. Everything is just boom, boom, boom. It falls in line. And that is so, like I said before, it's so cool, it's so awesome. And, you know, this is what happens. Like, people will just like, how do you know? How do you know? And it's like, you don't even know. And you can't explain it to them. You know, I was looking at this car last night. I want to get like an electrical car, but I need to do some research. I don't want a car that only has like 80 miles or something like that. I need long range. Like, what's the point? You know, I do too much driving for short range. But I'm not buying a Tesla either. Anyway, so yeah, the hells. Should you be afraid of the hells? Absolutely not. Don't be afraid of the hells. I mean, you can if you want, but the fear is what's going to keep you there. So, you know, the more you hear about the spirit world, the more you hear about the lower levels, the more you hear about the higher dimensions, you become more comfortable with it. You become more comfortable with the idea of death. Not looking forward to it, but understanding that there really is no sting. There is more afterwards. Yes, you are able to see the people that you once were able to see here on Earth. Now, if they're in a spirit location that you cannot go, then you're going to have to either call them to you, which is really easy to do. All you have to do is long for them, and this energy will come out of you depending on the type of energy. So if it's someone you love, there's going to be a pink energy that comes out of you, and it's going to go somewhere. You won't be able to see it because you can't go to their location if they're in a higher place. But you will see the color, the pinkish color, which represents love, and a bluish tint, a light blue tint represents truth. And so if you're longing for truth, then you'll see that energy go out, and you will reach someone who is able to bring you that truth, or that person that you're calling upon. And so you can bring them to you if you just have a longing for them. But most people don't know that they can do that, and so they're like, I haven't seen my children in 2,000 years, you know, because they just don't know. And the thing is, it's not like, you know, it's not like this. You know, this is why it's so important, you know, this at this moment here on Earth, because you have access to YouTube, you have access to all this different information, but you don't have access to that stuff if you're not in that condition to even receive that kind of information. Like, it's not just, you don't just stumble upon it. You only have access to that which is within your soul. And if there's a lot of uncertainty, if there is a lot of fear, if there's a lot of pain, then those are the only things that are going to be available to you, because that is all the universe can manifest for you, because it's using your soul to manifest your environment. That's it. Like, that's what's happening. This is a freeway, and you're doing 40 miles, even less than that? Jesus. Oh, my gosh. He really doesn't want to go to work. That's what I know. He really doesn't want to get to where he's going. Yeah, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Yeah, so, you know, you can, like I said, you can call them. You know, these things aren't going to be available to you. And this is why it's so important to learn as much as you can. Even if you don't believe it, learn as much as you can. Get the knowledge now, because you never know when you're going to need it. And you would rather have the knowledge when you need it than not have it when you need it. You know? You know? So, yeah, so don't be afraid of the hell. The hell, I don't, if I ended up there, I wouldn't be afraid. I would know exactly why I'm there. And that is so important, to know why I am where I am. And at that point, I would know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. I can't, because I'm not there. Well, my spirit body is maybe there. I don't know. But I don't know where I am in the spirit world. I couldn't tell you the condition. All I know is what I'm experiencing now, and that's all important. That's all that's important right now, is this experience that I'm having in this physical awake state. And that's what I have to deal with right now, because that's all that's available to me. So I don't live thinking about the spirit world all the time. I focus on what I'm feeling now, because I don't know what the hell I'm feeling in the spirit world, because I'm not conscious in that moment right now. When I'm asleep, I'm not even aware of what the hell's going on consciously. So that part's being blacked out. Like, I'm blocking that out for a reason. Like, my soul condition must be in a place where it's really dark and I'm doing some things that I probably shouldn't be doing, or I know I shouldn't be doing, which is why I don't want to allow myself to know what's going on. And so, it was interesting, because I was thinking about how I think I was trying to understand the whole sleep state experience, because every night, we have a sleep state experience. So every time we go to sleep, we experience the spirit world. We're swirling around and flying around and doing this, that, and the other. Well, I was like, if I'm doing all of these things that I shouldn't be doing, the only way to ignore that, the pain that I'm experiencing, or the trauma that I'm experiencing, or the bad things that I'm doing, my escape from that is to come here and not remember any of it and pretend like I'm such a great person, live my life like I'm like this really great person. And this is the thing that all of us will have to come to realize, is that there is a duality in our existence, and part of it we don't know. We don't know what's happening in our sleep state for the most part. Most of us don't know what's going on. And some of these dreams are part of your sleep state, and you don't even know it's part of your sleep state, and some of them are just dreams, so they're kind of intertwined. But for the most part, a lot of people don't remember what happens when they go to sleep. I don't remember what happens when I go to sleep, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why my consciousness is split like that, and I have to figure that out. Now, I've tried to have intentions before I go to sleep, to tell myself, stop doing whatever it is that you're doing that can cause you to degrade your soul condition. Because here on earth, I'm trying to improve my soul condition, so I need my sleep state consciousness to understand that and be on board with that too. Because it's rattling. Hold on a second. So, I didn't bring any coffee. I brought more of this damn tea. Maybe it's the tea that got me sick. Oh, the little pieces went down my throat. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the tea was too old. I don't know. But yesterday, that was awful. I'm sorry about that. I have to throw up thing, because it just hit me. But anyway, I was thinking, I have to get myself on board, because my desire here is to improve my soul condition, and part of that, the reason why that is so that I have a better experience in the spirit world. That's what's really important. So, I don't know, we have to make a conscious, we can't just say, oh, I want to be love, I want to be love. It's like the new age thing, I'm love, I am love, I am love, but yet you're angry. You can't be love and angry at the same time, and this is what I'm talking about. I can't try to do my best here when I'm countering all my efforts in the spirit world. Does that make sense? So it's not easy, people. It's not easy. This is why it's important to do the emotions, because whatever you conjure up in your mind, in terms of beliefs, yes, that does help, but the mind does not change the soul condition, and the soul condition is what your actions come from. Like, that's where it's generated from, your soul. So yeah, I can learn all of these things, all these principles and all these laws, and I can attempt to live those things out here. But if I am not changing my soul condition, that who I was before is still there. Like, despite all the things that I learn and all the things that I know, the emotions are still there if I have not released them. And if these emotions are the thing that's causing me to take the actions within the spirit world, then that means I have to focus on the emotions. This is why I keep saying it's important. And I know I said that I haven't done that much work. I've done some work, but not that much work. For whatever reason. And this is why I'm saying it now, is because it's difficult, because we have this it's like this dual consciousness, if you will, you know, and one of them is aware of the other, but one of them is not aware of the other one. So the sleep state consciousness is aware of everything that's going on when I'm awake and what's going on in the sleep state. But the consciousness that I have here is not aware of the other one, and I have to figure that out. But I already know. Like, I have to resolve this, you know, because first of all, it's an issue because it's coming up right now. Like, this is part of what I need to realize in order to fully make a soul-based transition or transformation. It has to be soul-based. And so everything that I've been doing has been intellectual, learning the laws, learning the principles, you know, trying to put things in action. But as long as those emotions are there, and let me, you know, some of the things, like the things that you learn, the things that you were taught, your belief systems, those things can be undone with your mind. Meaning, you can understand that you hold these beliefs, and you can change those beliefs and have different feelings and thoughts about that, and absorb new ways of understanding. But the emotional injuries, those things that are those emotions, those have to be they have to be physically removed. Like, it's a real thing, and it needs to be removed from your soul. And so you have to release those things. But you can change. This is why the spirits from the first to all the way up to the sixth dimension, they can move up without releasing things from their soul, because they're using their mind to change the way they respond to things. So if you, like, to say there's someone who is a racist, well, that racist person can train themselves and have more compassion and understanding and change their views, so therefore they don't hate minorities anymore. They don't dislike them, and they see them like everyone else. Like, you can do that with your mind and change your beliefs and feelings about things. But the emotions, the painful emotions that you experience, those things have to be physically removed. And those things are the things that prevent these spirits from transitioning from the sixth to the seventh dimension. So, and I said yesterday, you know, that, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, you know, that there's so many ways that the Creator has built into the system where we can improve our soul condition. It doesn't just have to be emotional injuries. It can be a belief. It can be views, the way you think about things. There's so many different ways to switch your focus on negative things or unloving things to loving things. And there's, like I said, there's just so many ways. But you have to, like I said, the truth is, all of those things have to be cleared up, or else you're going to run into the wall. And this is the wall that the sixth dimensional spirits are running into, because they don't have the whole truth. And the whole truth, in order to transform or transition from the sixth to seventh dimension, is you have to acknowledge God. So some of you New Age people who don't want to believe in God, or, you know, you're agnostic or atheist or whatever, and you don't believe in God as being a being, you're going to be one of those people who are going to run into a wall. You're going to run into that wall that is at the top of the sixth dimension that allows you to go into the seventh, and you're not going to understand why you can't go there. And you may not even, well, you know now because you've heard about it. But if you had not heard about it, then you wouldn't even know that there's anything beyond that place. And, you know, you may have run into bright spirits, but depending on who you are, you may be so arrogant you don't even give a heck, because you're in the sixth dimension. You know, it's no different than someone living in Beverly Hills and then looking at someone living in the projects. They believe because they have more, they're greater than, they feel like they're greater than, they have more power, more knowledge, more money. So they feel like, who cares about those other people down there? And so if you're in the sixth dimension, you can possibly have that, that view about those people down there, who are living and even in the third dimension, if you're in the sixth dimension, because the people in the third dimension can't get up to the people who are in the sixth dimension. They can't get up that far. So it just depends on how you look at it, but once you're a celestial being, you would never look down upon anyone like that, because all of your emotional injuries have to be removed. They have to be gone, and you have to receive God's divine love. And this is I find this stuff funny. It's so funny because people are hard-headed. Even myself, when I was young and I thought I knew what I knew, and I was big-headed about it or arrogant about it, and closed-minded about it, it's like once I realized like a truth, I laughed, and I think imperfection is hilarious because it doesn't have to be that way. It's like, this is so silly. Like, not being perfect is silly because there's really no reason for us not to be perfect. Like there's so much to be had. I'm gonna go over here. There's so much to be had in terms of perfection. There's so much that we can experience, and it does not have to be like this. And people have their souls or spirits who have reached that point where they don't have any of that stuff anymore, and all the nonsense that they experienced when they were young, well, they don't have it anymore. But that's the great thing about like what I was realizing when I lost my watch, and I lost time from my clock when it didn't work. Like, you're losing anything and you find it, you get it back. Like, that just proves to me that whatever is lost, so whatever true joy and happiness I had when I was a kid, all of that can be had again. All that youthfulness can be had again. The feelings of happiness and joy, all of that can be had again. Like, it's not lost forever. Like, whatever you has been taken away from you can come back. And so even from your when you incarnated, before you incarnated, you were a sixth-dimensional spirit, a soul. That's what your soul was. Sixth-dimensional soul. That's what God creates. God creates sixth-dimensional souls, which is perfect, without divine love. That's perfection. The soul's perfection without divine love. That's how we are all created. And when we incarnate, we get tainted by these emotional injuries. But it does not have to stay that way. And the proof of that are all that what you call angels or celestial spirits who are in the 8th dimension and above. They are proof because they all started out just like we did in the 6th dimension, tainted by our parents, and then at some point they made a decision themselves to want to improve in love, which caused them to be a celestial being. So there's nothing that is lost. Nothing is ever lost. Just transformed. It's only transformed. So our soul condition is in perfect state, and it's transformed into this dark, degraded thing. And if we want to, with our will and desire, we can transform back into a 6th-dimensional being and go beyond that. Change to something that we were never, that we never were. Hold on a sec. All right, I'm back. So, we can change. We don't have to stay the same. And that's the beauty of this whole system. That's the beauty of the system that the Creator has created. And, if you listen to, every single channeling that I have ever really posted in terms of the ones that AJ and Mary have been doing, there's a theme. And the theme is that people change. Their soul condition changes. If you listen to the, how their environment in the spirit world changes, like, acknowledge that. Like, I would really, recommend or suggest that you really focus on that. Like, that's the only thing that really matters. The situations are important because it allows you to see the similarities that are happening on Earth and what happens in the spirit world and how to get out of it. But it really shows that there is transformation. that can happen when you acknowledge the truth. Like, just go and look at these channelings that I put on my YouTube channel, and you'll see that everyone changes. Like, people, you understand that they only help those who want help. Like, they don't go to these random spirits and say, we can help you. No. You have to desire it. And that's how it works. That's the only way you can get help, is if you truly, purely desire it. No one's going to come to you. There's no celestial spirit that's going to come to you and say, hey, we can help you get out of the hells. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. So, your own. Because you have free will to experience whatever you want to experience. And if you want to experience suffering, then you experience suffering. If you don't want to experience suffering, then don't experience suffering and say, hey, I need some help. That's simple. It's like here on Earth. If you need help, you need help. Ask for help. It's no different. Kaiser Permanente. Anyway, I need to turn the video off now. So, be mindful of your experiences, how you feel, and have a clear understanding or a view, or have a clear idea of where you want to go, what you want to do. Who do you want to be? That's important. Who do you want to be? Because you can be anybody you want to be. You can be anybody you want to be. You're already that person. I guess I should just say I guess I can say you're going to develop who you are, but you already are who you are. So, like, your personality, your characteristics, those are already set. Those have been set in your soul before you were even aware of it, before any of us were aware of who we were. We are who we are. Like, that was it. We were becoming aware of it. So anyway, that's what I want to say. So have a great Wednesday, and I will talk to you guys another time. All right, bye now.
I am here, the spirit of one who lived on earth the life of a wicked man, and a persecutor of the Christians, and a blasphemer of God, and everything that was pure and holy. And when I had lived the life to its end, and shuffled off the mortal coil, and became a spirit, I also became a dweller in the lowest hells, where all is darkness and torment, and the abode of devils, and everything that tends to make the spirit unhappy, and at variance with the loving God. I introduce myself in this way in order to demonstrate to you the wonderful power of the divine love. For now I am an inhabitant of the celestial spheres, and know that this love is not only real, but is capable of making the vilest sinner a partaker and owner of the divine essence of the Father. My sufferings were beyond all description, and I was one of the most desecrated of mortals, and was almost worshipped by the devils of hell, because of the great injury that I had done to the followers of Jesus, who in my time were possessed of this love and faith, which even the terrors of the wild beasts of the arena, or the tortures of my own evil designs, could not cause them to renounce, in this great religion that the Master had taught them, and the disciples were still teaching when I put so many of them to death. The devils loved me for the very evil that I had done, but strange to say, the spirits of those who I had sent unto the spirit world before their time were not revengeful to me, or came to me with their imprecations or cursings. Then, when I had been in the spirit world a sufficient time to realize my surroundings and the nature of these evils, these spirits of the martyrs, which I had made, came to me in sympathy and pity, and in fact tried many times to help me out of my great sufferings and darkness. I did not understand all this unexpected kindness and evidence of love, and I would not for a long time believe that these spirits were sincere. And so I suffered for year after year and century after century, and became convinced that my condition was fixed, and that for me there was no hope, and that the God that I had heard of was not my God, and that devils were the only companions that I was destined to have through all eternity. And so I endured, wishing to die but could not. Oh, I tell you, it was horrible and beyond all conception of mortals. The law was working, and I was paying the penalty, and there seemed no end to the penalty. I could find no consolation among those who surrounded me, and the pleasures that I first enjoyed became to me mere things of mockery and derision, and my darkness and torment became the greater. How often I called upon God, if there be a God, to strike me dead, but the only answer to my call was the laughter of the grinning devils, who told me to shout louder, as God might be asleep and may be deaf. What to do I knew not, and so I became isolated as best I could from these terrible associates, and many years of my living were spent in the darkness of lonesomeness, with never a ray of hope or the whisper of one word to tell me that for me there might be a fairer destiny. And so time went by, and I waited in my misery for some kind power to come and annihilate me. But I waited in vain. During all this time, the recollections of my earthly deeds were like hot iron scorching my soul and burning my body, as I thought, and then the end came not. Well, I suffered the tortures of the damned, and it seemed to me that I was paying the penalties for all the sins and evil deeds that had ever been committed by all the wicked kings and rulers and persecutors of earth. Many times the shrieks of the Christian children and the groans of the men and women as they were being torn asunder from limb to limb, or burned as living torches, which I had made of them, came to me and increased my torment. I lived the life of centuries of torment in a few moments, as it seemed to me, and not one cooling drop of water was mine. It may seem impossible that I should have continued to live in this ever-increasing suffering, but I did, because I was compelled to. The law did its work, and there was no one to say, "Enough!" I might write a volume on this suffering of mine, and yet you would not comprehend its meaning, and so I will pass it by. In my loneliness and suffering, there came to me on an occasion a beautiful spirit, full of light and love, and all the beauty of early womanhood, as I thought, and with eyes of pity and longing, and said, "You are not alone. Only open your eyes, and you will see the star of hope, which is the sign of the Father's love and desire to help you. I am a child of that Father, and the possessor of His great enveloping love, and I love you, even though you took from me my young life when you threw me to the wild beasts to satisfy your desire, to gratify your thirst for innocent blood, and see the suffering and hear the groans of your victims. Yet I love you, not because I am a human with a kindly nature and a forgiving disposition, but because I have in me this divine love of the Father, which tells me that I am your sister, and that you are a child of the Father, just as I am, and the object of His love, just as I was the object of His love. You have suffered, and while you suffered, His great love went out to you in sympathy and desire to help you, but you yourself prevented it from coming to you and leading you to light and surcease from sufferings. And now I come to you, your young and innocent victim, who had never done you any greater harm on earth than to pray for you, and ask the Heavenly Father to take away from your heart the great wickedness that caused so many of my people to suffer persecution and death. We all prayed for you and never asked the Father to curse you or do anything to you to make you suffer. and we have prayed for you often since we came to the spirit world, and we are now praying for you, and this because we love you and want you to be happy. Look into my eyes, and you will see that love is there, and what I tell you is true. And now, can you not love us a little and open up your soul to our sympathy, and let your feelings of gloom and despondency leave you for a moment, and realize that in this world of spirits, there are some who love you? Well, to say that I was surprised does not express my feelings, and as I looked into the love-lit eyes of that beautiful spirit, I felt the great sins of my earth life overwhelm me, and in my anguish I cried, God be merciful to me, the greatest of sinners. And for the first time in all my life in the hells, tears came to my eyes, and my heart seemed to have a sense of living, and there came to me feelings of remorse and regret for all the evils that I had done. It would take too long to tell what followed this breaking up of my soul, all shriveled and dead, and suffice it to say that from that time I commenced to have hope come to me, to get out of my awful condition of darkness. It took a long time, but at last I got into the light, and this love which the beautiful spirit first told me of gradually came into my soul, until at last I reached the condition of bliss in which I now am. And during all the time of my progress, this radiant loving spirit came to me very often with her words of love and encouragement, and prayed for me, and never left me, when I became, as I did at times, doubtful and discouraged. And as my awakening continued, the love came into my soul, and as she told me of the heavenly things that would be mine as I progressed and reached the soul spheres, where beautiful homes and pure bright spirits are, I became more and more bound by my love to her. After a while, I got into the third sphere and realized that what she had told me was true, only I had not been able to comprehend the greatness of the truth. She then commenced to tell me of the happiness of the beautiful spirits of the two sexes, and I so often saw together and explained that they were soulmates, and that their love was the greatest of all the loves except the divine love, and that every spirit in all the spheres had its soulmate, and at the proper time would find it. My love for this loving spirit had then become so intense that in the very depths of my soul I wished and prayed that my soulmate might be such as one as she, and at last I became so filled with my love for her that I told her that the only thing in all the heavens that I needed to make full my happiness was she as my soulmate, but that I realized that desire was hopeless, as I had destroyed her life, and of course she could not be my soulmate. And oh, how I suffered when I realized that she could not be mine, but was another's. As I told her of these longings and hopeless feelings of my soul, she came close to me and looked into my eyes with such burning love, and threw her arms around me and said, I am your soulmate, and knew the fact a short time after you came to the spirit world and entered your hells of darkness. And during all the long years I prayed and prayed for the time to come when I could go to you with my love and awaken in your dead soul the response to my great love. And when the time came that I could go, I was so thankful to the Father that I almost flew to you, with some dread of disappointment, I confess, to tell you that you were not neglected or unthought of, but that there was some love in the spirit world that was going to you. Of course, I could not tell you of my soulmate love, for you would not then have understood. But as your soul awakened and the love of the Father came to you, I became happier and happier, and have waited so anxiously for this moment when I could tell you that this love that had been consciously mine for so long is all yours. Well, I will draw the veil here, but you can imagine what my happiness was, and as I progressed from sphere to sphere, my happiness and love for her increased and increased. Thus I have told you the story of the life in the spirit world of the wickedest man that God ever permitted to live, and gratifying his feelings of hatred and revenge. And I, who have passed through this experience and realized all that it means, say that the divine love of the Father is able to and does save the vilest sinner, and transforms the chiefest of devils into a celestial angel of his highest spheres. I have written long and you are tired. I thank you and will say good night and subscribe myself, your brother in Christ, Nero, the Roman emperor, and at one time persecutor of God's true children.